Hello everyone and welcome to another comic book review. Today I'm going to be reviewing Ta Nehisi Coates' first Captain America story arc, which is called Winter in America, with art by Lionel Francis Yu. The plot of this story picks up after the events of Secret Empire, a crossover event that admittedly I didn't read. But apparently, an evil twin of Steve Rogers, who was allied with Hydra, conquered the world and converted many of the Earth's heroes into Hydra agents before he was defeated by the real Captain America. That's all I could gather from the flashback scenes here anyway that sort of explained what happened. In any case, Captain America has returned to a country that does not trust him and appears to have little faith in their leaders, as the Hydra fascist government had solved most of America's pressing domestic issues like jobs being shipped overseas, the illegal drug trade, and the country's crumbling education system. This is coupled with the fact that the American government has seemingly returned to, well, behaving like the current American government. Captain America is also severely distrusted by the public because of his whole evil twin thing that took over the world not too long ago. Our first scene involves an army of people that resemble Nuke from Daredevil Born Again, staging a terrorist attack which Captain America and Bucky have to stop. At the outset, I have to say that I thought this story was a bit of a mixed bag. I'll first start with the good. I think that this story is at its best when it's focused on the state of contemporary American society and Captain America's views on it. Captain America is, of course, loyal not to the American government, but to the lofty ideals American society has always wished to aspire to, the American dream. These ideas about a free and open society where everyone is afforded equal opportunity to pursue their individual happiness and prosperity are ideals I believe in, and I've always found Captain America's unwavering belief in them to be inspirational. It's why I really like this character. We see Captain America in a place that harkens back to the Steve Englehart days of the 70s, where Captain America is disillusioned with American society as it currently stands. He goes to quote-unquote flyover country, as it's called by some people, and makes some observations. He observes the economic turmoil that's resulted from shipping manufacturing jobs overseas among blue-collar workers. He observes people that are concerned for the future of their children due to poorly run public schools. He observes that these economic and social challenges, which seem insurmountable, have led these people to turn to drugs to deal with their misery. He observes the general sentiment felt among people that the federal government is willing to sell its own people out and rob them blind. He observes the division that's making people view their fellow Americans in other regions of the country as domestic enemies. And he observes that the government in Washington seems utterly disinterested in finding real, practical solutions to any of these problems, because most of the people in positions of power have their own petty interests, which they put ahead of what's best for the country. These observations, of course, really trouble Captain America, because he comes from a time where people were optimistic about the future of our society. In Captain America's time, it seemed like there were no problems that Americans couldn't band together and solve. This isn't to say that Captain America turns a blind eye to the serious issues of his day. Every generation has societal issues that plague them and must be addressed. But the thing that troubles Captain America when he observes his fellow Americans is this general loss of a belief in the American dream. People don't seem to have a bright outlook on their individual futures, nor a bright outlook on the future of the nation as a whole. I will refrain from getting political in this video other than to say I have observed all of these phenomenons that Captain America observes in this story in my life firsthand, and I think Coates is spot on about the societal issues that plague our society and what many people I've interacted with feel about the future of America. The villain plot of this story centers around an ex-Soviet attempting to subvert the United States and make people lose faith in the American dream, and I think this, coupled with all of the realistic observations about the state of our society, really ground the story and make it feel real. It's also heart-wrenching to see Captain America, a man who cares so much about preserving the good things about this society, seeing it in such a sad state where people are completely demoralized and in existential peril. Captain America can't punch any of these problems out of existence, and seeing him grapple with these issues is the real challenge for him in the story. Sure, there are fights with supervillains and such here in this story, but seeing these social challenges dealt with are what really drew me into the story and formed the crux of what made it interesting to me. Now I'll talk about the bad. I thought the plot of the story as a standalone piece was a bit muddled, and had some trouble understanding exactly what was going on with the nuke terrorists who we see multiple times throughout the course of the book. I'm just generally kind of confused. So these nuke terrorists all look the same, and we're told in the first issue that they're cyborgs. Cap specifically talks about how he has an aversion to killing them in the first issue, but that in order to save people, he allows Bucky to take shots at them. Later on in the story, when he infiltrates a facility of them, he says that they used to be American soldiers, and that's why he's angry that they were used for evil ends. Why they all look like identical twins if they're former American soldiers, I have no idea. Maybe their cyborg parts change their hair color, height, and facial structure. Anyway, we're also told that they burn out a few days after they're activated. And while they're at the facility, Cap is totally fine with the Black Panther infecting their central command unit with a virus that will make them all burn out in seconds. I'm not sure if that kills them or not. But we also learn that the person controlling the nuke terrorists is Ezekiel Stane, who is being manipulated by General Ross, who has a position in the American government, who is in turn being manipulated by the wife of Alexander Lukin, who is an ex-Soviet with the mind of the Red Skull trapped in his head from Brubaker's run on Captain America. We also don't really know why any of the individual nuke terrorists signed up for this program, or why they're committing acts of domestic terrorism, or what Ezekiel Stane or Ross were attempting to accomplish with them. It's just extremely convoluted. I think that the plot thread that the story ends on, with Alexander Lukin being resurrected and the Red Skull still existing in his mind, along with his wife's plot to destroy America by making our society lose faith in the American dream, is very interesting. But that's a promise for the future, and I have to say, as a standalone piece, the plot of this one is kind of muddled and doesn't really make a whole lot of sense if you really think about it. It's entirely possible that I missed something, or that this is informed by something I didn't read. Maybe this is all explained in Secret Empire and I'm just late to the party. But from the perspective of someone just jumping into this story fresh, even if all of that stuff is explained elsewhere, it's a bit confusing for people looking to begin reading Captain America with this story arc. I have very little complaints about the art. I really like Leinil Francis Yu's style. I wouldn't have immediately thought to put him on Captain America because he has a grittier style that isn't typical of this book usually. I would have pegged him for one of the darker corners of the Marvel Universe, like maybe Daredevil or Hulk in its current incarnation, but I thought this art fit the tone of the story very well. His action is dynamic, and I also really liked some of the scenes where we slow down and dig into the interpersonal drama between the characters. For example, I loved Rick Remender's run on Captain America, and I wasn't aware that we were still dealing with the consequences of Sharon Carter being stranded in Arnim Zola's hellish dimension for years and aging to the point of being elderly. There are wonderful scenes between the two of them where Steve and Sharon share some difficult and loving moments, where Yu's dramatic skills really get to shine. I love that Captain America has remained with Sharon, despite the fact that her youth has faded and he's still young, because Sharon is the love of his life, it's so in character, and it reiterates how honorable a man Steve Rogers really is. Overall, I'd say that I would recommend Captain America Volume 1, Winter in America. It's not the most tightly written thing in the world, but I think there's enough good here to justify a read if you like Captain America and are interested in contemporary issues in American society. I hope that Coates plays to his strengths and focuses on the socio-political stuff in the future rather than the wacky villain plots, because that's clearly what he wants to be writing, and he does a pretty good job with it here. If you've read Captain America, Winter in America, let me know what you thought of it in the comments below, and if not, leave a comment letting me know what you thought of my review. The feedback really helps me improve my videos. Alright, thanks for watching everyone. Have a good one.